Welcome back, Rankers. Lots of interesting stories this week. Do you enjoy the grand final? Well, we're going to get to enjoy it again this weekend. For those of you overseas, we had a drawn Australian rules football grand final, the third in the history of Australian rules football. And so we get to play it again next weekend. Should be fun. But I thought I would take a look at the Australian Football League's website. But before we get down to that, I just wanted to show you a few things that are going on this week that I haven't got time to go into depth on. But one of the first things that you should go and have a look at this week if you want to learn more about SEO and you're not too sure and you consider yourself a bit of a beginner, Google has on its Webmaster Central blog, they've just updated their SEO starter guide, and it's even got this healthy little robot cartoon here, and that's the Googlebot. Now, the thing that's nice, that he's got flowers and everything, but the Googlebot also does have a fang. Just saying. Right, so AFL. Actually, before we do that, it was also pointed out to me by Marketing Now on Twitter that Google actually has a blacklist of keywords, or more specifically, Google Instant has a blacklist of keywords. And for instance, if you go to google.com, I'll just go to google.com and you type in puppy, for instance, the updates change as you type. You don't actually have to put search in, you don't have to click the search button. If, however, you were to type in the word bitch, nothing. And so there's a whole list of keywords that Google is excluding from the Google Instant, which makes good sense because there'll be a lot of things that may be offensive to a lot of people if they just happen to appear on the screen and you're not even searching for them. So I can understand why Google's doing that. On another note, though, there is a nasty blacklist that's about to happen out of the US, and this particular blacklist is probably the mother of all blacklists, but I won't get into that right now. But basically, censorship, it looks like it's all about protecting copyright owners, well, property, really. And certainly the latest blacklist out of the US is all about that, but I'm not going to get into it now. But Tim Berners-Lee, who basically designed the web, has come out and said it's the worst thing for the web ever. If that's not enough for you, I don't know what is. Okay, AFL. The first thing to do to find out whether your site's having performance issues, usually you can sort of gauge it because when you're looking at it over mobile or something like that, like if you've ever tried to access afl.com.au over mobile, it's not a fun experience. So I thought I'd go and find out why. Now I know it's hosted on IIS because it's using ASPX, IIS being the Microsoft web server. I've had a lot of issues with IIS over the years, but you know, that's not to say that you can't run a good site on IIS. It's really the way that it seems to be built and it seems to be loading. The first thing to look at here is you go to webpagetest.org, and this is a web page testing tool, load time tool that Google recommends, so it's an independent one. And you put your URL in there and wait 30 seconds and it will tell you how long it takes to load. Now the most significant thing in here that I can see is that it took nearly a minute for this page to load in the US. So this particular tool, I've said drag it out from the US because I want to see what it's like overseas, not necessarily locally. I'm sure it flies on Telstra's local network, and you know the AFL, the last time I checked anyway, don't actually pay to have their site built. Telstra basically pays the AFL millions of dollars in sponsorship fees for the privilege to build their websites. So, you know, I don't think the AFL is in any position to complain about the performance of their website. It's just a little bit disappointing for fans when a page can take 46 seconds to load. These items up here, pay close attention to. This is good, keep alive enabled. And that just means that the connection between the user and the server should be kept alive so lots of files can be downloaded simultaneously. Compressing text, compressing images, they're not compressing images. The server will do this. It's called, on Apache, it's called mod deflate, I think, and I forget what it's called on IIS. It's deflate or something like that. But Basically, it's a functionality that will compress the images on the fly as the user requests them, and then they're automatically expanded by the browser at the other end. And it just reduces the time it takes for these files to get out there. Caching static content. This is once again a server issue, so if your site's not doing this, have a talk to your hosting company. You need to cache static content, and what that means is that you're allowing the users, when they come to the site, to actually cache things or store things locally on their hard drive that aren't going to change. So when they do come back to the site, they don't have to download those things again. That's what caching static content is about. Combining JavaScript and CSS files, well, you're marginal there. And this, if you get this F, use of a CDN, it means you're probably referencing too many domain names, too many different domain names, or this service believes that you are anyway. So the idea is that you try to not grab things from lots and lots of different domains, because that's going to take time. Every time your browser has to look up and resolve a domain name, that adds time. So if there's a lot of domain names in here, that could be a lot to do with it taking 46 seconds to load. The other thing to have a look at too, to see what sort of server you're on, and we've discussed this before, is go to a tool like this one, domaintools.com. I know there's plugins, people have got plugins for Firefox and all sorts of things. But basically what you're trying to find out here is how many other websites are hosted on my server. And the reason you need to know that is because the more websites that you have hosted on your server, the slower essentially it's going to be, because the server has to service more than one website. So you look at afl.com.au and there's about 15 sites hosted on that server, and there's just a couple of them there. I don't know what the rest are, but it doesn't look like it's the actual team sites themselves. However, if you were to type Telstra.com in, who are the people that actually build the site and host the site, the AFL site, we can see there's only one domain name listed on that IP address, and that is a dedicated server just purely for that domain. That's the ultimate. So there's just a few tips you can do to go and check, you know, the load times of your actual pages. Don't worry about this too much if you go to web page test and you're getting a thing here that says 46 seconds. I would think you need to fix some of these things up here first before you tend to worry about, you know, if you've got another 15 sites on the same server. However, if there's 200 on the same server, I would suggest moving because you are on an underpowered box. Hopefully that's helpful, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye. Go Saners.